අද්විතීය 200 Mbps ස්පීඩ් එකකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ වේගවත්ම සහ පුළුල්තම හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් සම්බන්ධතාවය වන SLT මොබිටෙල් දේශීය ෆයිබර් බලවේගය ඔබත් අදම අත්විඳින්න.
හරිම සුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Monday the 28th of August 2023. Dutch refunds. Stolen Sri Lankan treasure returned today by the Netherlands government. Aspasuma update. 5 billion rupees to be dispersed to state banks to provide support to 800,000 beneficiaries under the Aspasuma scheme. Inquiry alert. Disciplinary inquiry against former SIS chief is still currently underway as confirmed by the Minister of Public Security. Tradable trade. Thailand still confident of signing the free trade agreement with Sri Lanka by early 2024, says the Thai Director General of the Trade Negotiations Department.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දිනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක. Rhino Cement Roofing Sheets. හොඳම මිලට කල් පවතින වහරයක්.
This is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and a warm welcome to today's edition of AdaDerana's English News, First at 9. This is Jonathan Benedict. Let's take a look at our top story right now. 6 items of Sri Lankan historical significance which were looted during the colonial era were formally handed over to the Sri Lankan government during an event that took place in the Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs by the Netherlands government. Addressing the event, Subject Minister Vidura Vikramanayake said that the returning of the objects will turn a new leaf in the book of Dutch-Lanka relations, while the Dutch government reiterated that the handover was to emphasize their commitment to further cooperation between both nations. Meanwhile, the Dutch Secretary of State for Culture and Media, who was present for the handover, said that Netherlands aims to build a common future with Sri Lanka in the fields of history, collection and research with cooperation.
Earlier last month, the government of Netherlands stated that they will be returning 478 objects of cultural significance that were looted during the colonial era from Indonesia and Sri Lanka. According to the Dutch Secretary of State for Culture and Media, Guneuslu, the decision was made after considering requests from Sri Lanka and Indonesia. As a result, they will be handing 472 objects to Indonesia. To Sri Lanka, the Dutch government will be returning 6 objects which include Leucas cannon, a gold castane or ceremonial sword, a Sinhalese knife, a silver castane and 2 guns. The Netherlands government stated that the return process forms the basis for further cooperation between the 2 countries and the cultural institutions concerned, and added that the Netherlands and Sri Lanka will remain in dialogue in order to develop this cooperation further. To formally hand over these objects to the Sri Lankan government, Dutch Secretary of State for Culture and Media Guneuslu arrived in Sri Lanka yesterday. This afternoon, an event took place at the Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs with the participation of Sri Lankan officials, including Subject Minister Vidura Vikramanayake and Dutch Secretary of State for Culture and Media, to sign the transference of acknowledgement and the loan agreement to formally hand over the objects to the Sri Lankan government.
This is a historical event, a moment that Sri Lanka has been waiting for ages, I should say, but didn't materialize. Now you all have taken initiative. So this is just an icebreaker, I suppose, which will follow by a gallow of artifacts coming from Netherlands. And also, at the same time, Your Excellency, you all have taken the initiative, and this is an eye-opener for the other nations as well. There were instances that the relations were somewhat restrained, but with this, we'll turn a new leaf of our relations and we'll move forward. Let bygones be bygones. Let's move forward.
We have a shared past and we want to build also together a common future with closer cooperation in the field of museum, collection, research, collection management, exhibitions, exchanging knowledge, expertise. And so it is indeed the shared history, the shared past and also common future. That's a priority for us, for the Netherlands.
State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinga confirmed today that the Welfare Benefits Board will disburse 5 billion rupees to state-run banks today to be subsequently credited to approximately 800,000 Aswasuma beneficiaries in the coming days. The disbursement will be the ration for the month of July. Over 1,280,000 families who have been receiving the existing Samurdhi welfare benefits have applied for Aswasuma, out of which 887,653 qualified earlier this month. The Cabinet of Ministers elected to extend the Samurdhi allowance to 393,094 families who are not qualified but receiving Samurdhi until the appeals and objections process is concluded.
එකෙන් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා දැනට මේ ලක්ෂ 8 වෙනුවෙන් රුපියල් බිලියන 5ක මුදලක් තමයි සුබසාධක ප්‍රතිලාභ මණ්ඩලය බැංකුවට ලබා දෙන්නේ. එකෙන් අදහස් කරන්නේ බැංකුවට මුදල් ටික යනවා. ඒ හින්දා අද දිනේ ප්‍රතිලාභීන්ට මුදල් ලබා ගැනීමට හැකියාවක් එන්නේ නැහැ. බැංකුව විසින් ඒ මුදල් ප්‍රතිලාභීන්ගේ ගිණුම් වලට ඉන්න අනතුරුව බැර කරන්න අවශ්‍ය වැඩ කටයුතු කරයි. ඒකම අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා හෙට දිනේ මේ සඳහා සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඉන්න රාජ්‍ය බැංකු පද්ධතිය කැඳවලා ඔවුන් එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරන්න මේ අලුත් වැඩපිළිවෙල තුල කිසිදු බාධාවකින් තොරව ජනතාවට මේ මුදල් ලබා ගැනීම සහ මේ මුදල් බැර කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් යම් තත්ත්වයන් තියෙනවා නම් ඒවා निराකරණය කරගන්නත් අවශ්‍ය තාක්ෂණික ගැටලු निराකරණය කිරීමට අපි වැඩ කටයුතු හෙට දිනේදී ඔවුන් සමග කරන සාකච්ඡාවෙන් පස්සේ සිදු කරනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම අපි ජනතාවගෙන් ඉල්ලන්නේ අද දිනය මුදල් ඔවුන්ගේ ගිණුමට බැර වෙන දිනයක් නෙවෙයි. අපි බැංකු වලට තමයි මහා භාණ්ඩාගාරය විසින් මේ මුදල් ලබා දීම සිදු කරන්නේ. ඒ අනුව ඉදිරි දිනවලදී ඔවුන්ගේ ප්‍රතිලාභීන්ගේ ගිණුම් වලට මේ මුදල් බැරවීම සිදු වෙයි. අපි ඒ එක්කම අභියාචනා සහ විරෝධතා පිළිබඳව සමීක්ෂණය කඩිනම් කරන්න, පරීක්ෂණ කඩිනම් කරන්න අවශ්‍ය වැඩ කටයුතු සිදු කරනවා.
In other news, the Minister of Public Security, Derana English, says that the inquiry against former Chief of State Intelligence Services, Lanka, as ordered by the Supreme Court, is still underway. Addressing a media briefing today, the Minister of Public Security denied any knowledge of a mastermind behind the Easter Sunday attack, as alleged by the Cardinal and former Attorney General, and revealed that neither party has continued the narrative following an inquiry into the statement.
පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරය වගකීම පැහැරහැරි රාජ්‍ය බුද්ධි සේවයේ හිටපු අධ්‍යක්ෂකවරයා මේ වෙද්දිත් පොලිසිය උසස් තනතුරක ඉන්නවා ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණ තීන්දුවකින් කියලා තිබ්බා නිලන්ත ජයවර්ධන මහත්මයා සම්බන්ධයෙන් විනය පරීක්ෂණයක් කරන්න කියලා. මෙන්න මේ කියන හිඩැස් සම්බන්ධයෙන් සිදු කරන විමර්ශන කොහොමද?
නිලන්ත ජයවර්ධන මහතාගේ විනය පරීක්ෂණය පොලිස් කොමිසමට අපි බාර දීලා මේ වෙලාවෙත් ඒක කෙරීගෙන යනවා. අනිත් එක විමර්ශනයේ විදිහට තමයි කාට හරි නඩු පවරන්නේ. පිට ඉන්න අය කියන විදිහට නෙමෙයි නඩු පවරන්නේ.
එතනදී ඔබතුමා හිතනවාද මේ කියනවා පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරය ඇතුලේ මහමුලකාරයෙක් සිටියා මේක ඇතුලේ එළිදරව් නොවුණු දෙයක් තිබ්බා කියලා.
මට දැනට නම් එහෙම පෙනිලා නැහැ. කාදිනල් තුමානි ඉස්සලම මහමුලකරු ගැන කිව්වේ ඊට හා සමාන දෙයක් කිව්වා විශ්‍රාම යන්න ඉස්සලා දවසේදකෝදී හිටපු නීතිපතිතුමා. ඒක ගැන අහන්න යාට එන්න කිව්වහම යත් හැංගුණා. නීතිපතිතුමා හැංගුණ දවසේ ඉඳන් කාදිනල් තුමාගේ මහමුලකරු කතාවත් නැවතිලා. ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ එකඟත්වයේ උඩ මම මුළු රිපෝට් එකම කතෝලික සභාවට බාර දුන්නා. බාර දෙනකොට මං කිව්වා කතෝලික සභාවට අපිට දෙන්න අවස්ථාවක් අපි ඇවිල්ලා පොලිසියෙන් දැනට කරලා තියෙන ඉන්වෙස්ටිගේෂන් එක ප්‍රසන්ට් කරන්න. ඉතින් අවාසනාවකට වගේ අද වෙනකන් ඒ අවස්ථාව අපිට ලැබිලා නැහැ.
Following weeks of devastating drought, many areas of the country continue to endure severe conditions exacerbated by the prevailing extreme weather conditions. In the latest list of cultivation casualties, tea, papaya and pepper plantations in several areas have reportedly been adversely affected, along with the rapid decrease of water levels in several areas. Subsequently, measures were initiated to provide water to at least 25,000 families in the Ranna and Tangol areas as of last night.
The ongoing drought conditions continue to affect several areas in the country, disrupting the livelihoods of many and destroying acres of land. Owing to the current extreme weather conditions, low-country tea cultivation has been severely affected. Nearly 1,000 acres of small tea estates in the Rammala area of Hambantota have dried up due to the drying up of all water streams beginning from top of the Rammala hill. As a result, farmers are taking extra efforts to preserve crops by utilizing drinking water stocks for cultivation purposes. Meanwhile, farmers in the Denia area have lamented about the drying up of tea plantations in the area following the drought. Tea plantations in the Hiniduma, Neluwa, Udugama, Yakalamulla and Badbegama in the Gaul district were also affected due to lack of water. The dry weather has affected not only the tea plantation but the papaya cultivation in the country. Pepper cultivations initiated under the donations of the World Bank are also gradually drying owing to the severe drought conditions. Consequently, the villagers in the Thangavelathapuram area claim that there could be a potential drinking water crisis in the near future as a result of the decreasing water levels in water wells. Many species of plants in the Rahangala mountain range have all dried up. Meanwhile, water released from the Chandrika tank under the protection of the police and the STF reached the Ranna Kattakadu reservoir area. Accordingly, authorities have taken measures to distribute water to nearly 25,000 families residing in Ranna and Tangal areas from the Kattakadu water pumping station since last night. Police Special Task Force and constables were deployed to prevent the attempt of some people who attempted to break the doors of the canal and forcefully seize water brought in from the Chandrika tank to the Kattakadu reservoir. However, in good news, it was reported that rain was experienced in the area around the Kattakadu reservoir this afternoon. Several parties have volunteered to supply water for the animals affected by the extreme drought conditions prevailing in the country. Rainless weather conditions, however, continue to plague the areas where hydroelectric power plant reservoirs are located in the central hill. As a result, water levels in the reservoirs which generate hydroelectricity is rapidly decreasing. Earlier this morning, water level of Castlereagh Reservoir belonging to Ceylon Electricity Board has reported as 41 feet and the water level of Moussakala Reservoir has been reported as 43 feet. Following the drop in water levels, old drains which are normally submerged are now visible. However, the Senior Electrical Engineers Association says there will be no power cuts despite the decrease in the water levels in the reservoirs.
In other news, Minister of Education Susil Premajayantha says that a ministerial memorandum has been presented to increase the allowance of teachers who participate in exam paper evaluation and marking to the Cabinet. Pending approval, action will be taken to disburse the payment. The minister echoed these thoughts following a series of protests last week by teacher unions asking for an increase in the allowances paid for teachers involved in exam paper evaluation and marking. The minister, commenting on the issue, said that allowances should be increased for paper evaluation and marking at the advanced level examination as there are fewer paper marking centres in certain areas. However, the paper marking of the ordinary level examination does not face this issue following the implementation of more centres.
The marking of GCE ordinary level examination answer scripts remain disrupted due to the government's decision to reduce the paper marking allowance of 2,000 rupees to 1,450 rupees. Several protests were organised in the Anuradhapura and Homagam areas against the government's decision last week. Meanwhile, Minister of Education Dr. Susil Premajayantha said the allowance will be increased by the reduced 550 rupees following cabinet approval, keeping in mind the careful scrutiny of the country's present economy.
අනුරාධපුරයේ තව තැන් දෙක තුනක කළා. දැන් අදින් උත්තරපත්‍ර සමීක්ෂණය කිරීමේ මූලික වටය අවසන් වෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ අපි එයාට 36000ක් විතර ගුරුවරු විදුහල්පතිවරු සම්බන්ධ වුණා. එයාට රාජකාරී නිවාඩු බවට ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කළා අපි හෙටයි අනිද්දායි දවස් දෙක. ඉතින් මේ දීමනා කියලා කියන්නේ උසස් පෙළ උත්තරපත්‍ර සමීක්ෂණය කරපු අයට දීමනා වැඩි වුණා 550කින් ඊළඟට 1000කින් මේ ආදි වශයෙන්. මොකද මේ මධ්‍යස්ථාන සංඛ්‍යාව අඩුයි. සෑහෙන දුර ප්‍රමාණයක් එයා යන්න ඕනේ මධ්‍යස්ථානට උත්තරපත්‍ර සමීක්ෂණයට. නමුත් සාමාන්‍ය පෙළ විභාගයේ ඒ දුර ප්‍රමාණය ඒ මට්ටමින් නැහැ. Tamanට ආසන්න තැන්වල තමයි මධ්‍යස්ථාන පිහිටුලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒ අය තමයි රුපියල් 550ක් වැඩිපුර ඉල්ලලා තමයි තැන් දෙක තුනක ඒ ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයන් ගත්තේ. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ ගුරු වෘත්තිය අපි මේ මට්ටමට වට ගන්න යන්න නරකයි. රුපියල් 550ක් දවසකට ඉල්ලලා මේ ළමයින්ගේ උත්තරපත්‍ර පරීක්ෂා කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් පාරට බහින්න ඕනේ කමක් නැහැ. මම කොහොමදත් ඒකට ඇමති මණ්ඩල සංදේශය ඉදිරිපත් කළා තියෙනවා. ඒක අනුමත වුණොත් ඒකත් ලැබෙයි. ඉතින් රටේ ආර්ථික තත්ත්වයත් එක්කයි බලන්න ඕනේ. මේ දේශපාලනයත් එක්ක ගාව ගන්න නරකයි මේ දරුවන්ගේ අධ්‍යාපනය.
The Federation of University Teachers Association and several trade unions, along with civil organizations, launched a protest that commenced at the Colombo Fort railway station today. The protest was organised in expression of objection towards alleged EPF and ETF thefts, as well as unjust tax policies.
A protest organised by the Federation of University Teachers Association, trade unions including those in the banking, petroleum and electricity sectors and civil organisations was scheduled to convene today. The protest was organised to express objection towards the alleged EPF and ETF thefts as well as unjust taxations. The protest commenced in front of the Colombo Fort Railway Station today. Protesters who engaged in demonstrations in the area then attempted to march towards the People's Bank. The Fort Police obtained a restraining order from the Fort Magistrate Court, preventing the protesters from entering the premises of the President's House, the Presidential Secretariat, the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank. However, disregarding the restraining order, protesters continued to engage in demonstrations which led to a tense situation. Thereafter, the protesters dispersed.
Leader of the United Republic Front, Partli Champika Ranawaka, in a hard-hitting statement today declared that the SLPP does not deserve a single seat in Parliament for the damage caused to the country, which will echo for decades to come. Meanwhile, independent parliamentarian Professor G.L. Pires said that a strategic program to establish a broader alliance with the aim of overhauling the government next year has commenced, adding that it is a mandatory requirement. With that, let's take a look at these and more from the world of Sri Lankan politics in greater detail.
පසුගිය අවුරුද්දේ ඇතිවෙච්ච අර්බුදයේදී විපක්ෂ නායකයාත් විපක්ෂ අනිත් උදවියත් ආණ්ඩුවේ උදවියත් පැනලා ගියා. මේ අභියෝගයේ බාර අරගෙන රටකොට දැමීමට හැකියාව තිබුණේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාට විතරයි. ඒ නිසා රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා මේ බාර අරගෙන තියෙන්නේ පොහොට්ටුවත් අලිවත් නෙමෙයි. මේ රටේ මේ තියෙන අභියෝගයේ බාර අරගෙන ඒ අභියෝගය ජයග්‍රහණය කරවීමට එතුමා කටයුතු කරන්නේ.
ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයාගේ කකුලෙන් ඉස්සරහින් පස්සෙන් දෙකෙන් මැදපු ඉඳ තමයි අපිට දා පරිදිලා ගෙදර යන්න සිද්ධ වුණේ. හැබැයි අපි ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයාට කරපු දේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාට අපි කරන්නේ නැහැ. එතුමාගේ අපි කකුලෙන් අදින්නේ නැහැ. එතුමා වට්ටන්න ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි එතුමාට දීලා තියෙන අවුරුදු දෙකක් මේ රට ගෙනියන්න.
අනිවාර්ය අවශ්‍යතාවයක් තමයි මේ රජය එන අවුරුද්දේ වෙනස් කිරීම. ඒ සඳහා පුළුල් සන්ධානයක් ගොඩනැගීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් ක්‍රමානුකූල වැඩපිළිවෙලක් ආරම්භ කරලා තියෙනවා. සාකච්ඡා පවත්වාගෙන යනවා.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණට ඊළඟ මැතිවරණයේදී 2020 මැතිවරණයේදී එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයට අත්වෙච්ච ඉරණම තමයි අත්වෙන්නේ. ජනාධිපති ධුරයක් නෙවෙයි පාර්ලිමේන්තු ධුරයක්වත් ලබා ගන්න බෑ. ඉඩ දිය යුතුත් නැහැ. මොකද රට බංකොලොත් කරපු පිරිසක් ඒගොල්ලෝ මේ රටට කරපු විනාශය දශක ගාණක් පවතින එකක් නිසා.
An individual was killed by two unidentified gunmen in the Vellampite area this afternoon. The suspects had ridden up in a motorcycle, as seems to be a recurring theme with these episodes of gun violence, opened fire and fled the scene. In other unfortunate news, a forest fire which broke out last night had reportedly destroyed 7 acres of land in the Palmadulla area. The cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained.
A 47-year-old person was killed in a shooting in the Vellampite area this afternoon. As confirmed by the police, the two unidentified gunmen who arrived on a motorcycle had executed the shooting using a pistol at the victim travelling in a three-wheeler at the time of the incident. Further investigations to apprehend the suspects are currently underway by the Vellampite police. A 54-year-old police sergeant who was on duty as a personal bodyguard was killed in a shooting that took place this morning at the official residence of a judge of the Mathura District Court. The police sergeant's T56 duty firearm and 2 bullet casings suspected to have been fired from the police sergeant's body were found near the spot. Investigations into the matter are currently underway. A 21-year-old first-year student studying at the Faculty of Management in the Rajarat University has died after drowning in a swimming pool. The deceased, along with 5 other students, had allegedly trespassed into the university swimming pool complex. The victim was rescued and rushed to the Mihintale Regional Hospital, where he was pronounced dead upon admission to the hospital. Further investigations into the matter are being conducted by the Mihintale police. A forest area of over 7 acres have been destroyed by a fire which had reportedly broken out last night in the Palmadulla area. The fire has spread in the Thotilagama mountain area in the Kuttapitiya area in Palmadulla. The Palmadulla police confirmed that investigations are currently underway and the reason for the fire is yet to be uncovered.
We'll be back after a short break. Stay tuned.
ගොඩමඩ පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන්කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ටීමෝ වෙතින්. වැඩම ගොඩයි ගොඩම තමයි ස්වරාජ් ට්‍රැක්ටර් ටීමෝ වෙතින්.
Welcome back. Foreign media reports say that Thailand and Sri Lanka expect to sign a free trade agreement in early 2024, as both parties aim for 3 more rounds of talks this year to conclude negotiations. The Director General of the Trade Negotiations Department, speaking at the 6th round of negotiations for the Thailand-Sri Lanka FTA held between the 21st and 23rd of August in Bangkok, said that despite the small size and population of only 22 million in the country, Sri Lanka has an important geographic position in the Indian Ocean, making it a hub for maritime transport.
The 6th round of negotiations for the Thailand-Sri Lanka FTA held last week in Bangkok comprised the Trade Negotiating Committee overseeing overall progress and 7 technical working groups covering trade in goods, rules of origin, trade in services, investment, technical barriers to trade, trade remedies and legal issues. The free trade agreement is projected to expand the Thai economy by 0.2%, equivalent to $80 million, which includes the expansion of investments and the value of Thai exports to Sri Lanka. Speaking at the meeting, Director General of Thai Trade Negotiation Department, Oroman Suptavitum, said that Sri Lanka has an important geographical position in the Indian Ocean, making it a hub for maritime transport with abundant natural resources such as precious minerals and seafood. According to the department, the potential beneficiaries of this agreement include automobiles and auto components, machinery, electrical appliances, metal, sugar and plastics. Industries in which Thailand could expand its investment in Sri Lanka include processed foods, beverages, textiles, garments and jewellery. During the first 6 months of this year, two-way trade between Thailand and Sri Lanka amounted to $179 million. Thailand exported goods worth $120 million to Sri Lanka and imported goods worth $59.4 million.
Moving on to shares on stocks today. Sri Lanka shares closed lower today, dragged by losses in counters within the financial and capital goods sectors. The All-Share Index closed down 0.33% at 11,169.73 points, falling for the third straight session. The S&P SL20 Index was down by 0.54% to end at 3,152.84 points. Sampath Bank, Central Finance Company and Haley's were the top losers on the Colombo Stock Exchange All-Share Price Index, falling 7.05%, 4.89% and 4.84% respectively. Trading volume on the index grew to 60.1 million shares from 52.9 million shares in the previous session. Market turnover increased to 2.1 billion rupees from 1.9 billion rupees in the previous session. Foreign investors were net sellers, offloading stocks worth 115.8 million rupees, while domestic investors were net buyers, purchasing shares worth 153.9 million rupees. Let's have a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. Dankoto refuses to sell shares to Sea Line Investments at the offered price of 28 rupees and 30 cents for an ordinary share of the company, saying the price does not reflect the fair value of the ordinary voting share of Dankoto firm. Meanwhile, Laughs Gas said going forward, in order to increase its presence in the domestic market, the group plans to increase the volume of LP gas in the industrial and commercial sectors. With that, let's take a look at the latest updates from the corporate world from the country.
Sri Lanka Dankoto plc, a porcelain tableware manufacturer, said that in the acquisition of its shares by Sea Line Investments, the offered price of 28 rupees and 30 cents per share does not reflect the fair value of the ordinary voting share of the Dankoto firm. The firm said that this conclusion was made after examining the contents of the agreement of Sea Line Investments and after getting advice from its independent advisors. Further confirming the decision, NDB Investment Bank said that considering the valuations and relevant qualitative factors discussed, the bank is of the opinion that the offer price does not reflect the fair value of an ordinary voting share of Dankoto firm in its current context and does not recommend that the shareholders accept the mandatory offer made by the offerer. Laughs Gas plc said that with the aim of ensuring a consistent supply of LP gas, the group plans to increase the volume of the industrial and commercial sectors of the domestic market in the coming future. The firm said that the strategic plans of the group involve exploring a number of avenues to reduce costs and gain a competitive edge through which the Laughs Group would expand its market presence and achieve sustained growth in the future. Sarvodaya Development Finance says that Masayoshi Yamashita, who was a non-independent, non-executive director of Sarvodaya Development Finance plc, retired from his position upon completing his term of 9 years of service as a director of the company on the 27th of August 2023. The company said that Masayoshi Yamashita ceased to be a director of the company effective from the 27th of August 2023.
That wraps up all the news I have for you this evening. Do join us again tomorrow for more up-to-date news. For now, this is Jonathan Benedict wishing you a blessed Tuesday ahead and a good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.